I've literally started the beginning of this video 3 times because I keep saying the wrong introduction for the wrong show. Welcome back to Kaori's Corner. Remember, it's always suggested by you, reviewed by me. And today we are talking about Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost. So if you've never seen Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown summary. Basically, the team is still reeling from what happened with Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, and that's when they started to initially deal with the real. They've decided that they need a vacation, and of course they are working a case at a museum, and they run into an author who is doing research for his new book. And his name is Ben, and Vilma is a fan. Ben Ravencroft, and Vilma is a fan. So they, talk to him. He invites them to his hometown that he visits once or twice a year, and he goes there kind of just to recharge. And he hasn't been there in a while. They have like this whole Puritan village thing going on, and they have the witch's ghost, who is Ben Ravencroft's ancestor. Her name is Sarah, and he portrays her as a Wiccan when in all reality she is this evil witch spirit who was trying to basically dominate the world, but the Wiccans in that Puritan village had imprisoned her in her own book. This is also our first introduction to the Hex Girls. The Trinity, yeah. And the Hex Girls are actually under suspicion due to the flash powder that they use in their show, and the fact that when Scooby and Shaggy got attacked by the witch's ghost when they were coming out of the diner after they had initially run into the Hex Girls, they were attacked by the witch's ghost, who was firing fireballs at them, and the fireballs had flash paper in them. And when they were seeing the Hex Girls practicing and performing out in the woods, they used at the end of their show with some like explosions that you want to say, they were using flash paper. And as it turns out, the witch's ghost was created by the townspeople in Oak Haven, which is where they went to, because they needed money. They wanted tourists to come to this place. They needed money, and in order to get money, they needed to come up with some kind of gimmick, and the gimmick was Sarah Ravencroft. Now, was this insensitive of the town? Absolutely, because at this point in time, you guys were all under the impression that she is Ben Ravencroft's ancestor, and that she was wrongfully persecuted as a witch, which is something that he has been expressing this entire movie. Now, one of the things that makes you very suspicious of Ben Ravencroft, and Daphne is actually the one to point it out, is his obsession with her journal, because he's like, if I can get my hands on her journal, it would basically exonerate her. Like, they wouldn't be able to call her a witch anymore because her journal was like how she was helping people. And he goes into like this whole history of Wiccan and how she was a Wiccan healer. And then of course, we get Thorn, who is part of the Hex Girls, who is the leader of the Hex Girls, who is also a Wiccan, and she like is a fan. They're all a fan of Ben Ravencroft, but she is an absolutely huge fan as well. And it's just they get caught up in the middle of this whole situation basically because of the townspeople. Now, it is said that the Hex Girls are local, so they are not international superstars just yet. So this, of course, gets them tied up in the middle of this whole situation. And again, this whole entire thing was put together by the townspeople for more money. We have like a cherry picker. The mayor was acting suspicious, picking up and dropping off packages in dead ass middle of the night. Thorn was under suspicion because Daphne and Fred followed her to her house, just walked on up in her yard because she left her fucking gate open. And saw her doing a ritual, which was like it's like a little ritual to soothe your vocal cords. And all that stuff gets explained later, of course. And then of course it turns out that Ben Ravencroft knew all along that Sarah was this super evil witch, and has been trying to find her spell book so that he could summon her, and he wanted to essentially control her so that they could have like this whole world domination thing going on. And here we are for the second time in a row dealing with the real. And Scooby and Shaggy, they set them up every single time. So at the ending of this, where it's like the big climactic scene, they come up with the plan where Scooby and Shaggy are told that they are the fastest of the five, which they are. So they are tasked with actually getting the spell book away from Sarah and Ben and over into the hands of the Scooby Gang so that they could read from the spell book and put her back. So, of course, this is what happens. Shaggy is the one who gets caught first. Scooby gets caught by a tree. And then Daphne tries to assist. And Daphne gets caught in the tree, not even 2 steps away from Scooby. And then Fred gets caught by the tree, whose roots are definitely longer than they should be. And he's able to get the book to Velma, even though it is also almost taken by the tree. And they're able to get Thorn to read the spell book and put Sarah back into her spell book, but they pull a Aladdin where she's going back into the spell book and she takes Ben with her. I think that what is absolutely hilarious is the fact that Fred definitely called that woman a slur when he called her a broom rider. Quite frankly, I would have whooped his ass, but that's just me. She did try. She definitely did try, because who are you talking to? At the end of the day, this goes down as one of the best Scooby Doo movies ever. The introduction of the Hex Girls alone is absolutely one of my favorite things. And while Scooby Doo on Zombie Island holds that #1 spot, the Hex Girls is not too far, not the Hex Girls, but Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost is not too far behind, because there's the animation. Both the animation from Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost and Scooby Doo on Zombie Island hold up phenomenally. There is the music between Terror Time from Scooby Doo on Zombie Island and the 2 performances from the Hex Girls, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air, and I'm a Hex Girl. Absolutely just phenomenal. The characters, you definitely feel bad that the Hex Girls are caught in the middle of this when the only thing that they were asked to do was perform at this like festival that they were having, and they ended up getting caught up in the middle of this. And all of this is because her father, as well as the other townspeople, wanted to get more money. And it also kind of makes you feel like really bad for them, because you didn't think that the Hex Girls were much or enough to bring in the money that you were looking for, especially if their music is really good. You had all these people coming out here to see the Witch's Ghost and to see the Hex Girls perform, but they were more concerned about being hunted or haunted by a ghost that may or may not exist. And of course, I would assume that a lot of people thought that it was a joke. Just like Fred said, this could be funny, but y'all kind of overshadowed the Hex Girls for a ghost when you could be using your local talent to get the money and revenue that you're looking for. Their music was good. Their like design was amazing. So what are you doing? And then for it all to culminate and nobody would even be able to see it. The only people who saw the real Sarah come out of the book and just be a part of that whole entire situation with a real ghost was the mayor and Thorne's dad, who was the dentist, pretending to be the witch's ghost during all of this. That is tragedy. But I can definitely appreciate all of the storytelling, the character development, and everything that happened, especially between Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and how we get here. I think Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and then after Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, and then came Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, and after that, I believe, came Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. I hate Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, honestly, but this would be the 3rd time that they have dealt with real things, and it's just at this point more fun for the rest of us. Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost is 100% one of my favorites. It is my #2, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you do. And that is it for this episode of Kaori's Corner, and 10s across the board for Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Bye.